Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pacharane, Nevasai Sunyavadi Piskate Desatani. Om Aginachaminandasya, Janandana Salakaya, Saksusamidatan, Vignatasmai Sri Gurave Namaha, Sri Caitanya Manubhistam, Stapitam Zena Bhutale, Sayam Rupakadamayam, Nadati Swapadantikam. Vansakopatubhyascha kripasindhuvayavacha patitanam pabhinebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Rupa Goswami is in Jagannath Puri. Prabhu, are you? What are you sitting on? The one, you just get the other mat. It's right underneath in the other shelf. Otherwise the floor is so cold. So Rupa Goswami has arrived and Mahaprabhu is visiting him every day. Rupa Goswami is staying with Haridas Thakur. And he would, whatever prasadam Mahaprabhu received from the temple, because when he would go, they would give him Jagannath Mahaprasad, and whatever prasadam they gave him, he would give that to Haridas, Srila Haridas Thakur and Srila Rupa Goswami. And then he would talk for some time and then leave to perform his noontime duties. Madhyana Korite Prabhu Karila Gavan. In this way, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's dealings with them continued every day because they wouldn't go to the temple. Lord Jagannath, in the form of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, came to them, thus receiving the transcendental favor of the Lord. Srila Rupa Goswami felt unlimited pleasure by that association, and knowing that Mahaprabhu was giving him so much mercy, he was feeling ananda apara, unlimited happiness. Unlimited happiness. What does that mean? We can't.
This is not material.
Yeah. And it's unlimited.
Unexpected.
That too. But the concept of unlimited is so interesting because you can't conceive of it. You can't think of it because all our conceptions are of limited things. Hare Krishna. So after Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, taking all his devotees with him, performed the Gundicha Marjana, so that will be described, or was described in the the 12th chapter of Madhya Lila. So every year the devotees would come and they would more or less do the same thing. They would do kirtan all around the temple. That chapter is titled Veda Kirtan. Veda means when they go all around, they just say kirtan and kirtan and kirtan and kirtan. Because what did they do with Mahaprabhu? Because they all came to see him, and that's what they did. That kirtan, and then they would discuss Krishna Katha. And Mahaprabhu, he would expand himself, and he would be seen in each of the groups. So they would do that just before Rath Yatra, so Rath Yatra is coming up. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu took all his devotees with him and performed the Gundicha Marjana, the washing and cleansing of the Gundicha temple. And of course there's an amazing purport by Srila Prabhupada, quoting Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur about the significance of the cleansing of the Gundicha temple and how it's the cleansing of the heart and making the heart a suitable place to place Lord Jagannath, to place the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It has to be very clean. That means impurities aren't there. And also, so pure means the absence of impurity, but also there's the desire has to be there strongly for for the Lord to be there, because, one has to invite him. And one has to invite him with great, great desire. And Prabhupada actually speaks about that in the purport. Do you remember that? In the purport, do you remember that? He says that you should invite the Lord to come after, and then hold a big festival to live in your heart. Your fully cleansed heart. Yeah. And then after the Gunditsa Marjanam, he went to the garden known as Aitota and accepted prasadam at a picnic within the garden. So this was the regular yearly thing. When Haridas Thakur and Rupa Goswami saw that all the devotees were accepting prasadam and chanting the holy name of Hari, they both were greatly pleased. They became Harshita Man, in their mind became jubilant, thrilled to see the devotees all taking prasadam and chanting. When they received the remnants, but they wouldn't eat with the devotees because they had a secret plan, both of them, and that secret plan was to get the remnants of the food of Mahaprabhu, and that's what they would honor. And when they received the remnants of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's prasadam through Govinda, Govinda was, of course, the servant of Mahaprabhu, they respected it. And then they both began to dance in ecstasy. Prema mate dui jana natsite lagila. So they would dance in great happiness. On the next day, when Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu went to see Srila Rupa Goswami, the omniscient Lord spoke as follows. Savagya ceremony. He was Savagya, he knew everything. And he said to Rupa Goswami, do not try to take Krishna out of Vrindavan, for he does not go anywhere else at any time. So he was referring to the drama that Rupa Goswami was writing. And Satyabhama also had, in Satyabhamapura, had told him to make a separate drama about her. And when and Mahaprabhu didn't know any of this, or about what Rupa Goswami was writing. But yet he's called omniscient, Sarvagya, he knows everything. So he said this, don't try to take Krishna out of Vrindavan, for he does not go anywhere else at any time. And then there's a verse quoted from Laghu Bhagavatamrita by Rupa Goswami. The Krishna known as Jadu Kumar is Vasudev Krishna. He is different from the Krishna who is the son of Nanda Maharaj. Jadu Kumar Krishna manifests his pastimes in the cities of Mathura and Dwarka. But Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, never at any time leaves Vrindavan. Swakachin naiva gacchati Vrindavanam pratyaja swakachin naiva gacchati. So we usually say the verses Vrindavanam pratyaja padamekam nagacchati. But that's the way I've heard Prabhupada say it, but here it's swakachin. Not at any time. Sakachin, at any time, naeva gacchati. Not at any time does he leave Vrindavan. Why?
Because this is Vrindavan.
That answer is very interesting. Because he can't leave. Because he's captured. After saying this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to perform his noontime duties, leaving Srila Rupa Goswami somewhat surprised. Vishmay Hoila, he was surprised, astonished. Satyabhama ordered me, this is Rupa Goswami's thoughts. Satyabhama ordered me to write 2 different dramas, Srila Rupa Goswami thought. And now I understand that this order has been confirmed by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Formerly I wrote 2 dramas as one composition. Now I shall divide it and describe the incidents in 2 separate works. And the 2 separate works of Lalita Madhava and Vidagdha Madhava. Vidagdha Madhava is Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, and Lalita Madhava is Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, but out of Vrindavan. So, so now I understand this order has been confirmed by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Now I shall divide it and describe the incidents in 2 separate works. I shall write 2 separate invocations. Those are the Nandi slokas. The slokas, the verses that invite auspiciousness. Dui Nandi prastavan dui samgatana pritag korea liki korea bhavana. I shall write 2 separate invocations of good fortune and 2 different introductions. Let me think deeply about the matter and then describe 2 different sets of incidents. And the Prabhupada's short purport. The 2 works are the Vidagdha Madhava and the Lalita Madhava. The Vidagdha Madhava describes pastimes in Vrindavan, and the Lalita Madhava describes pastimes in Dwarka and Mathura. Then during the Rath Yatra ceremony, Rupa Goswami saw Lord Jagannath. He also saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing and chanting in front of the Rath. So this is the very year that Mahaprabhu returned from Vrindavan, and previously he spent 2 years in Jagannath Puri after returning from his South India tour. And it describes how the devotees, it's so interesting the way it's described, that the devotees, like Maharaj Patapuja, he just said to Ramananda Roy and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya that please, somehow or another, we shouldn't let Mahaprabhu leave again, because he was so much appreciating Mahaprabhu's presence in Jagannath Puri. So when he wanted to go to Vrindavan, when Mahaprabhu wanted to go to Vrindavan after returning from South India, they said, why don't you wait till, right now it's cold in Vrindavan, just wait till Holy Festival. And then at the time of the Holy Festival, then it's so close to Rath Yatra, so why don't you just stay to Rath Yatra? And then after that, after Rath Yatra, it's so hot in Vrindavan, so why go right now? So in this way, they were playing with him for 2 years. They wouldn't let him leave, because Mahaprabhu is very he keeps himself subordinate to his devotees. So it's very interesting because for so many reasons. But usually when we think of love, we put aside our needs, our desires, so that the other person is happy. But here they just did the opposite. Mahaprabhu wanted to go to Vrindavan, which was his desire, and they wanted him to stay. So how does that make sense from the point of view of love? Means satisfying the beloved's desire. Is the question clear? Yeah.
Well, it's for me, it's like from the beginning, it's confusing, because we see even in Krishna Lila, like in Braj, that at many times Brajvasis were calling out Krishna, like even when it was the Davana Lila or any other, like whenever there was danger, they were calling out. But we see at the same time that they were not considering in the Lord, like he was the Lord for them. He was their own son or child was there, but they were calling, and it says that they don't want that separation from him.
Yeah, that was the answer that Vishwanath Chakravarti. It saves us from separation.
So same thing, I guess here, same thing applies, that the separation, that they don't want to be separate from him.
Yeah.
Like, they were enjoying that rasa.
Well, this is the nature of deepest kind of love that they had. Yes, we're supposed to do everything but they just couldn't do it because their love was so strong. This is the nature of spontaneous love. They just couldn't do it. They just couldn't do it. They couldn't tolerate it. That's basically just intolerable. So it went beyond the rules and regulations of love. And then after 2 years had passed, and they tried it one more time, and Mahaprabhu said to them, I've been cooperating with your tricks for 2 years now, but do you think this is proper? Or something like that. And they said, you are the independent Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you do whatever you want. So they immediately they went back into, yes, now it's time to stop. Now it's time to stop. He's going to go. So then they said, just one more time, just wait until this next festival, and then Mahaprabhu went. Then he went to Ramakeli, but first he went to Ramakeli. He said he was going to Vrindavan, going up to Bengal to see his mother and to see two mothers, the Ganga and Mother Sachi. And then he turned back from Ramakeli because his real mission in going to Ramakeli was to see Rupa and Sanatan. So when that was done, and he turned back, and then he stayed just a short more time when he came back to Jagannath Puri. And he, without talking to anyone, he just left, basically. He didn't go through the whole thing again and ask for everyone's blessings and permission. So, during the Rath Yatra ceremony, Rupa Goswami saw Lord Jagannath. He also saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there were 2 years in between Mahaprabhu's going to South India and his going to Vrindavan, where Mahaprabhu, for 2 years, the devotees from Bengal would come, and they would all together observe the Rath Yatra ceremony. And they would stay for 4 months. So, and Rupa Goswami saw this, his dancing. Nritya Kirtan, he saw his dancing and chanting. Then Kaviraj Goswami says, I have already described all these incidents. This is in Madhya Lila. But I still wish to add briefly something more. Generally, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu recited a verse while dancing and chanting before the Rath, but no one knew why he was reciting that particular verse. Only Sri Damodar Goswami knew the purpose for which the Lord recited that verse. According to the Lord's attitude, he used to quote other verses to enable the Lord to relish mellows. So Sri Damodar, he was always in a supportive mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So when Mahaprabhu was in the mood of separation, he would recite verses of meeting, just to bring down the fever of Mahaprabhu's separation. And he would sing songs, and Ramananda Roy would quote, one of them would quote verses, the others would sing songs, and especially later on, they would sing from the works of Chandidas and Jayadev, and also seems like Ramananda Roy's own drama, the Jagannath Natikam. So according to the Lord's mood, according to Mahaprabhu's mood, he would recite Srup Damodar, and he would recite slokas that were in conjunction, the slokas that were complement the mood of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the ecstasy Mahaprabhu was experiencing. But there was one verse, or some verses, that no one could understand the meaning of those verses, because they hinted at the very deep internal mood of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu that no one could pierce. Only Swarup Damodar, who was this termed or thought of as the second Mahaprabhu, he knew Mahaprabhu's mind completely. So Rupa Goswami, however, could understand the intention of the Lord. So he was the one Swarup Damodar understood, and Rupa Goswami somehow understood. And thus he composed another verse that appealed to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu that gave the same meaning, but in a different form of this very mysterious verse that no one could understand. And the verse was, Ya Komanahara Saevahi Varas Taeva Chaitra Chapas. This was the verse recited by Mahaprabhu. That very person who stole my heart during my youth is now again my master. So at this point, everyone was worshipping Lord Jagannath as Jagannath. And it wasn't really clear the mood that Mahaprabhu was establishing of seeing Jagannath as Shyamasundar. And the Gundicha temple where the Rath Yatra would go. How far is that? From the Sri Mandir?
3 kilometers.
How far?
3 kilometers.
3?
Kilometers.
Okay, 3 kilometers. So everyone thought this is just the pastime of Lord Jagannath, but Mahaprabhu saw it completely differently. That there was a whole different, deeper meaning, and no one understood that at this time. But it's going to be Srila Rupa Goswami who reveals that. So that's why we say Rupa Manobhistam. He knows the internal desire of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What's in his consciousness. So the verse that Mahaprabhu would sing, it was a verse that was not written by any Vaishnava even. It was a contemporary verse, song, poetry. That very personality who stole my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights of the month of Chaitra. The same fragrance of malati flowers is there, and the same sweet breezes are blowing from the Kadamba forest. In our intimate relationship, I am also the same lover, but still my mind is not happy here. I am eager to go back to that place on the bank of the Reva under the Vatasi tree. That is my desire. So Mahaprabhu would recite this verse, and no one can understand that he was referring to the mood of Srimati Radharani with Krishna at Kurukshetra. And even though, and this is one of the most mysterious aspects of Krishna consciousness, and why Vrindavan is so special, that so Krishna leaves Vrindavan, and everyone, of course, all the Brijbasis want him to return, because they have such incredible love for him, and without Krishna, their life doesn't have any meaning to them. Their love is so complete. It's like they don't have eyes if they can't see Krishna. So it appears to be just simply about the residents of Vrindavan, especially Srimati Radharani, missing Krishna, about their relationship. So one may think that if they meet somewhere else, then everything would be all right. So this actually happens, and it's described in the 82nd chapter of the 10th canto, when they meet at Kurukshetra. And this meeting of Radha and Krishna at Kurukshetra is very significant, and Mahaprabhu placed great importance on this, and Rupa Goswami and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also placed very great importance on this, and because it signified that even Radha and Krishna together, or the gopis and Krishna together, but without Vrindavan, without the special Vrindavan, is Srila Raghunath Das Goswami explains that Vrindavan is an expansion of Srimati Radharani herself. Could be seen as the Sandini Shakti of Krishna, but Raghunath Das says, and that it's actually Srimati Radharani, and therefore it has that special sweetness that's so attractive. So Rupa Goswami understood the mood of separation that Mahaprabhu was experiencing at Rath Yatra, because there was Krishna in the form of Lord Jagannath, and Balaram was there in the form of Baladev, and Subhadra Devi was there in their chariots. And it was a place of opulence, and Vrindavan is a completely different mood. And Krishna was surrounded by the armies and the warriors and the rattling of the chariot wheels. So all this is explained in the 13th chapter of Madhya Lila, Mahaprabhu's mood of separation, when he would look at Lord Jagannath in the mood of Srimati Radharani. So then Rupa Goswami understood, somehow or another he understood the mind of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he understood this verse, the actual meaning of this verse that Rupa Goswami that Mahaprabhu was reciting. So he composed his own verse, which is included in Padyavali. Priya Soyam Krishna, so Krishna's name is there, Sahachari Kurukshetra Milas. So meeting at Kurukshetra. Tantataham Saradata Idam Ubayo Sangamasukam Tatap Yanta Kelan Madura Murli Panchamrajushe Manome Kalindi Pulina Vipinaya Sprihayati. My dear friend, now I have met my very old and dear friend Krishna on this field of Kurukshetra. And I am the same Radharani, and now we are meeting together. It is very pleasant, but I would still like to go to the bank of the Jamuna beneath the trees in the forest there. I wish to hear the vibration of his sweet flute playing the fifth note within that forest of Vrindavan. So he's giving the meaning of what Mahaprabhu was saying, and this was Mahaprabhu's internal mood at Rath Yatra, the mood of separation from Krishna, even in meeting. Separation while being together, but not in Vrindavan.
Might be detached.
Even just by hearing about this pastime, it becomes detached, or to speak, if we hear about it.
Separation is so intense.
So Rupa Goswami wrote this verse on a palm leaf, Talapatra. And Rupa Goswami put it somewhere in the roof of his house, of his thatched roof, and then he went to bathe in the sea. So he could just compose these Sanskrit verses, not writing 5 drafts or 10 drafts and crossing out and everything. He got the idea, he composed it perfectly in his mind, and then he wrote it out. And at that time, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu went there to meet him while he was bathing in the sea. And he saw that there was a leaf pushed in the thatch of the roof. And he took it down, he saw the verse, and he began to read it. And after reading the verse, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was overwhelmed by ecstatic love. And at that very time, Rupa Goswami returned, having finished bathing in the sea. Prabhu Dekhe, seeing Sri Chaitanya Prabhu, Dandavat Prangame Padila, he immediately fell down on the ground, offered his dandavats. Prabhu Tandra Chapadamare Kahite Lagila. And the Lord slapped him. He goes, what a study. Mildly in love, and spoke as follows. My heart is very deep and very rahasya, very confidential. How did you know my mind in this way? And after saying this, he firmly embraced Rupa Goswami. How did you know my innermost thoughts? I never spoke about this to anyone. How did you know what's really going on in my heart and my mind? Yeah, he doesn't actually say mind. It's Vidya. Gudamora. Guda means very deep, secret. My heart is very deep. And then after that, Drida Alingana. Drida means he held him firmly, tightly, and embraced him. Heart to heart. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu took that verse and he showed it to Sri Damodar for him to examine. Then the Lord questioned Sri Damodar, how could Rupa Goswami have understood my heart? The Lord asked him. And Sri Damodar, knowing everything, replied, I can understand that you have already bestowed your causeless mercy on him. That's the only way that you could have understood. Kripa kari te apane, past tense, you had bestowed your mercy. Personally, you must have already given him your mercy, otherwise there was no way that he can understand this. It's only by mercy that one can understand. No one could understand Anyata any other way. No one could otherwise understand this meaning. Suptamana himself understood it. I can therefore guess that previously you bestowed upon him your causeless mercy. And Mahaprabhu replied, Rupa Goswami met me at Prayag, and knowing him very, very matter-of-factly, knowing him to be a suitable person, I naturally bestowed my mercy upon him. I therefore also bestowed upon him my transcendental potency, sanchari. And now, he said to Surupnamana, you should also give him instructions. In particular, instruct him in Raseda Vishesh. That means the discriminatory, the different discriminations, the different thoughts about rasa. Particular information about transcendental mellows. In particular, instruct him in transcendental mellows, all the discriminations that are required about transcendental mellows. And Srup Damodar said, as soon as I saw this unique composition, what he had written, I could immediately understand that you had bestowed upon him your special mercy. By seeing a result, one can understand the cause of that result. If you see a result, there has to be a cause of that result. So, but you have to be very deep to understand sometimes what's causing the particular result that you're observing. One time, one devotee had just come from Bombay in the very early days, Mumbai now, and Prabhupada asked him, Prabhupada, probably in Vrindavan, and Prabhupada asked him, how are things going in Bombay? Now he didn't know what to say exactly. So he said, well, I don't think it's very clean. Things aren't very clean there right now. So Prabhupada said, that means the devotees aren't chanting their rounds. And then that devotee realized that he had gotten everyone in trouble, and so he said, no, I don't think it's that, Prabhupada. I think just it's just not very clean. And then Prabhupada said, no, that means the devotees aren't chanting their rounds. So that's an example of the discernment that Prabhupada had from hearing one result, and then he saw the cause right there. And then that verse was from Nyaya Shastra. And then the river Ganga, this is a verse. The river Ganga, flowing in the heavenly planets, is full of golden lotus flowers, and we, the residents of those planets, eat the stems of the flowers. Thus, we are very beautiful, more so than the inhabitants of any other planet. This is due to the laws of cause and effect. For if one eats food in the mode of goodness, the mode of goodness increases the beauty of his body. Now here's Srila Prabhupada's purport. One's bodily luster and beauty, one's constitution, one's activities, and one's qualities all depend on the law of cause and effect. One's bodily luster and beauty, one's constitution, one's nature, one's activity, and one's qualities all depend on the laws of cause and effect. In other words, what you exhibit externally is based on something that you've done already. There are three qualities in material nature stated in the Bhagavad Gita: Karanam Guna Sangasya Sadasa Joni Janmashu. One takes birth in a good or bad family according to his previous association with the qualities of material nature. Therefore, one seriously eager to achieve transcendental perfection, Krishna consciousness, must eat Krishna prasadam. Such food is sattvic, or in the material quality of goodness. But when it offered to Krishna, it becomes transcendental. So that, in one sense, is the essential message of the 17th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which describes the three modes of material nature. That things that we do in Krishna consciousness should be done in goodness, Om Tat Sat, and then offered, because things in the mode of goodness should be offered to Krishna. That's the basic concept of that chapter. And that's the basic lifestyle that the devotees are supposed to lead. That the whole lifestyle is supposed to engender the mode of goodness. But yet we're supposed to expand the movement and double it every year and do this and increase everything and
Passion. Passion.
It seems to, but to do that to do these things in a transcendental way. So why is that there? What's your analysis? And is it possible to do these kind of things in the mode of goodness?
Yes, why not?
Well, why not? One could say that, well, who is? That's why not.
Our goal is not here. We are thinking as a mind project. This is mind project. This is mind service. We are not taking as a service given by Spiritual Master or Lord. That's it. That's a deep analysis. It sounds like you've seen something and this is your conclusion. I went in it a lot of times. Yeah. And then because you get attached to the results, and then because you get happiness in doing the seva, and then whatever brings us happiness, we get attached to. So goodness immediately moves into passion. And then passion goes to ignorance, and ignorance goes to deeper ignorance. So so we're supposed to have strong sadhana, and strong hearing and chanting, and that's what's supposed to protect us from, yes. And being conscious, yeah. And prayers come when you're conscious. Do you follow what I mean? Yeah. You understand that I'm playing with dangerous energy here. I'm playing with a lot of money is going through my hands, this and that. So this is danger, because it's danger. It's a good opportunity to make money, maybe, but if that's what I want, then one has to think,
what do I want? What actually do I want? And then one has to make one's decisions. What do you think, Bhajbihari?
It's hard to, because it's in the mode of passion to get things done.
But that's the good thing about the mode of goodness. You get other people to do the passionate work. That's really what's supposed to
That's what
happen.
Prabhupada did.
Yeah. And watching Prabhupada, he was completely regulated. Continuously. That means you don't let the mode of passion overcome you. Now is the time to do this. Boom, I stop. Now is the time to do this. Boom, this is what I do now. Now I do this. Yeah, he got angry sometimes. And one devotee once, I saw this in one of the Prabhupada memories. It was by Revati Nanda.
Revatanandan?
Yeah. Has he passed away?
I don't know.
I think he may have passed away. Prabhupada actually it was Vishnujan's cousin. But Prabhupada he spoke to him in a way that he didn't speak to others, it seemed. He told them things. But he said that one time, I think it was in London, he was in England, and the devotees were making some preparation for Prabhupada. And they didn't do it properly at all. So when Prabhupada came down, he was really angry at them. He was so upset and he was criticizing them. And the devotees felt so bad. So after Prabhupada went back to his room, they asked Revati Nandana Swami to please, we feel so bad, please apologize to Prabhupada on our behalf. So he went on the door. So he went upstairs to Prabhupada's room, knocked on the door, and Prabhupada opened it. And Prabhupada wasn't at all angry. And so he apologized to him, Prabhupada, on behalf of the devotees. And he was just completely cool. And then he's saying, wait a second, Prabhupada was just so angry, and now he's not angry. So he wanted to talk to Prabhupada about that. How he asked him what happened, but you can't ask him directly. So he asked him a little indirectly about how is it that sometimes a great devotee is angry, but and then a few minutes later he's not angry or something. He phrased it like that without talking directly about Prabhupada, and because he couldn't ask Prabhupada directly, how come this great soul is doing what he's doing? So he was a little indirect. And Prabhupada said it's like whatever anger is there, it's just on the surface, just like at the ocean. There may be some winds that cause the ocean waves on the surface to be very disturbed, but just below the surface, just a few feet below the surface, everything is calm and peaceful. And even Prabhupada basically said that the same thing when he, in 1967 or so, he was walking, or maybe 8, he was walking with the devotees by the Pacific Ocean. So in Latin, the word Pacific means peaceful. So Prabhupada, and it's peaceful, that's why it's called the Pacific, like pacify. So Prabhupada asked the devotees, why is the ocean peaceful? And they couldn't answer. So he said, because it is deep. So to be peaceful in this world, one has to be deep. And what's the opposite of deep in English? Shallow, yeah. Another word. What's another word? Superficial. That's the one I was thinking of. Superficial means on the surface. So this is one good test of our own consciousness. How superficial or deep it is how agitated and disturbed we get by the goings on, how deeply we become disturbed by the goings on of life in the material world. Because there's certainly enough reason to get disturbed. But how deep does it go? Does it disturb our Krishna consciousness? Does it knock us over like a strong wind will knock over a tree if the roots aren't deep? Yeah. It's already that time for your meeting. So we'll see if we can finish this. Yeah, we'll be able to finish the purport. Unfortunately, at the present moment, the bodily constitutions of the leaders of society, a little before that, our Krishna conscious movement distributes Krishna prasadam, and those who eat such transcendental food are sure to become devotees of the Lord. This is a very scientific method, as stated in this verse from Nalash Nashada, Karyam Nidanad Dhi Gunan Adite. If in all his activities a person strictly adheres to the mode of goodness, he will certainly develop his dormant Krishna consciousness and ultimately become a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. Unfortunately, at the present moment, the bodily constitutions of the leaders of society, especially the government leaders, are polluted, as described in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 12th canto, first chapter. Asamskrita kriyahena rajasa tamasritaha prajaste bhakshayishyanti maletsa rajani arupinaha. Such leaders have no chance to purify their eating. Politicians meet together and exchange good wishes by drinking liquor, which is so polluted and sinful that naturally drunkards and meat-eaters develop a degraded mentality in the mode of ignorance. The process of eating in different modes are explained in the Bhagavad Gita, whereas it is stated that those who eat rice, wheat, vegetables, and milk products, fruit, and sugar are situated in the elevated quality of goodness. Therefore, if we want a happy and tranquil political situation, we must select leaders who eat Krishna prasadam. Otherwise, the leaders will eat meat and drink wine, and thus they will be asamskritaha, unreformed, and kriyahin, devoid of spiritual behavior. In other words, they will be milechas and yavanas, or men who are unclean in their habits. And through taxation, such men exploit the citizens as much as possible. And in this way, they devour the citizens of the state instead of benefiting them. We therefore cannot expect a government to be efficient if it is headed by such unclean milechas and yavanas. So I'll just read one more verse. After the 4 months of Chaturmasya, Shravan, Bhadra, Asvin, and Kartik, all the Vaishnavas of Bengal returned to their homes. But Srila Rupa Goswami remained in Jagannath Puri under the shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Any questions or comments?
Yes. The first question is actually about we should prepare things in the mode of sattva, and by that it gets they get transformed, transcendental.
No.
Yeah.
No. We should make the food in the mode of sattva,
Yeah.
and then offer it to Krishna, and then it becomes transcendental. Yes.
But I hear, what is the difference? This means then it becomes Shuddha Sattva, is it correct?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But what is the exact difference between Shuddha Sattva and Vishuddha Sattva?
One is material and never completely sattvic. And Vishuddhasattva is a spiritual energy.
So what we offer, then it can become
Spiritualized.
Shuddha-sattva, but it will not become Vishuddha-sattva.
It can become Suddhasattva is the same as Visuddhasattva. That's my understanding.
Sarvabhauma Prabhu, he said that but I'm not sure, but he said like Shuddha-sattva is like it's transcendent, and Vishuddha-sattva is like really like in the past and of Krishna something like is.
I don't know. I never heard that.
Second question. You said that anger is just by a pure devotee just on the surface. So how is about the anger of Hanuman? Is it then also just on the surface, or is it like when he gets really furious when he fights his other Rakshas?
We had a mission to perform.
So
And soon as the mission is, even Lord Sringadev, he got angry and he wouldn't calm down until Prahlad came.
is this anger from Hanuman more on the surface, or is it
Well, it was as long as necessary, because you can't fight if you're not angry. Also, Arjuna had to fight, and Krishna had to make him angry to kill Karna. Yes, so he said, because Karna had the wheel was stuck. So Krishna had, and Arjuna, it was against Kshatriya principles to shoot him at that time at a disadvantage, because fighting would always be gone equally. They were so strong and self-confident. So Arjuna said, Krishna said, kill him. And Arjuna said, how could I do that? He's in a disadvantage. And Krishna had to make him angry. So you know how he made him angry?
He told everything about what happened with Draupadi, that he was guilty.
Especially Abhimanyu.
Yes.
Where were the religious principles when they killed Abhimanyu? Because Arjuna loved Abhimanyu so much. He was the hope of the dynasty. So he got him angry. And then he could do it. So anger could also be used in the service of Krishna. Narottama Das Thakur explains this in Prem Bhakti Chandrika. But if we become angry people, angry devotees, we're not going to last very long. Get angry at everyone else, all the other devotees, and get angry at everyone, and because anger is tamagun. But yet it can be used in Krishna service. Prabhupada sometimes said that everything can be used in Krishna service except matsarya, envy. Any other questions or comments? Yeah.
At one point you said that Rupa Goswami, while he understood what he has to draft of this order of Satyabhama, so he was in doubt. But then
I'm sorry,
in the beginning you said that Rupa Goswami was confused that what should he do when he got a message from Satyabhama to draft this to.
Well, he didn't know how he should do it.
Yeah, and then later after meeting Mahaprabhu, he understood, he realized that this is what the Lord wants from us. But at the same time, we see that it's very confusing to understand the instructions of the Lord. Sometimes we found ourselves like we do this or we don't, and it's very difficult to judge. And now if we see, okay, what Lord wants from us, we don't know that. And it happens maximum of the time.
So what do you do?
But I don't know.
Well,
It's always difficult.
well, if it's the kind of question you could ask your Guru Maharaj or trusted Vaishnavas, that's one thing. And if it's not that kind of a question, then my conclusion on this is that you use your intelligence as best you can. But then, because the intelligence is known as the next door neighbor of the supersoul. And of course, sometimes Krishna from inside, he lets you know what you should do. But if that doesn't happen and you can't consult with trusted Vaishnavas who you know are going to represent Krishna's will, including Guru Maharaj, then we use our intelligence as best we can to figure out what will be most pleasing to Krishna. What should I do? But since the intelligence is coming from you, then you also add a little conditions apply. And you say, but if this isn't your desire, you please let me know. And then I'm attached to pleasing you not to do this particular thing. And then also pray to Giriraj.
It works.
Huh?
It works.
For some people it seems to work. But it's not like God is not our order supplier. Sometimes he wants to let us work things out, it seems. But sometimes he clearly tells us what we should do and what we shouldn't do from inside. Tadami buddhi yogam tam. I mean, it's an interesting discussion, but then it gets very personal, you know. And sometimes Krishna tells us what we do, but it's not what we want to do. So we say, there's a joke about that, but then we should end. There's a joke about that where this fellow is, he's not a religious man or anything, but he's walking by a big cliff. Cliff means, you know, big rocks, and down there's hundreds of feet going down into a raging river and rocks and everything like that. So he's walking and he's thinking about something else, and he falls over the cliff. And then there's a tree root, and somehow or another, even though he's over that, he just with like one hand, and he's holding onto that root, and it starts
Cracking.
Yeah. So then he starts praying, oh God, if there's anyone up there, please save me, please save me. And then there's a voice, my son, just let go of the root and I will protect you. And he looks up and says, is there anyone else up there? So sometimes we're a little like that. Good joke, yes?
Yeah, but it happens. We pray sometime and they later we think that what if he really heard it?
Yeah. But what if it's not my mind? But there's a clear difference between the mind and Krishna from within.
Yeah.
And when it's Krishna from within, you actually know it's Krishna from within. I remember when I was just a little boy, I remember that Krishna told me not to do something. I can't remember what it was, but I was somewhere between 5 and 6 or something like that. And I understood that my conscience or something was telling me, don't do this. But I wasn't intelligent enough to understand. I was thinking, what is this? I was surprised because I had never experienced that before as just a little baby, sort of. But I didn't follow it. I don't remember what it was, but that's a prayer of a devotee. Just please allow me to serve you. Yeah, that means we have to follow his order. Instruction, guidance. And most great scientific discoveries come from, these people are so intelligent and they're thinking and thinking and thinking. But it's not like they figure it out like through their intelligence. They get an inspiration. So that's super soul. So this is what you want, okay. Here's the answer. Okay, good night. Hare Krishna.